to those listening. This is an orator here with the freest of speech. And this time, I'm going to talk about Roots, the remake mini series they want to be doing for AMC. Yeah, it's AMC. Now, truth be told, I never actually finished watching the first Roots. And I did finish watching it because it makes me angry. Very, very angry. Not because I'm black and slavery and all that stuff. It makes me angry because just like any other period piece they want to do, they never look back and examine the reasons why something is happening the way it is. They only want to glorify the horrific treatment that people get during that time period. And I understand why they do it because when you go into the more deeper meaning for the people's justification for these things, you see that they will conflict with not today's standards, but organizations and things that are still in play today. For example, the Christian nation of America in its founding, slavery was okay because the Bible says slavery is okay. So this was a justification that they can easily use for the masses to oppress anybody else or kill them off. Now I say this in this specific way because there are a select group in any population that would be totally okay with brutalizing and doing whatever to people. But people on the whole don't engage with each other in that manner. So to get people to your average person to actually engage in the brutality or the mistreatment of other people, you have to give them something to hold on to that allows them to justify within their own minds for a lot of things that happen. So whenever they do these things, like in Roots, and they're going to do the same thing in this miniseries remake, they're not going to go behind and see what was the justification these people gave themselves for being able to do these things to these people. And if one of those justifications is Christianity, there is no way they would actually, they will not examine that. And that makes me angry. Another aspect that I know they're not going to cover or really look into that makes me angry is the fact that if you happen to meet someone who comes from a coastal African city on the Atlantic coast or even in the Indian Ocean coast, you will learn that if they know their history, they'll tell you that yes, our people sold off other African people to colonials as a way to enrich ourselves. See, whenever you hear about slavery, all you hear is the evil white man came and took the innocent black man away or he kidnapped them. But the truth be told, a lot more were just sold off as a commodity for the African coastal nations than were kidnapped. And if you happen to know somebody from an African coastal city who know their history, and yeah, they'll say, yeah, that happened. Again, another aspect of this that is never explored into, but you understand why it doesn't happen. Just like with the justifications for slavery, because religion was a way to justify it to people, they're not going to examine. They also will not examine the fact that a lot of black people were just given away by their own countrymen because they weren't their own countrymen. And these, even today, you still have the African nations. They are not a united system. They are all individual systems. They're all individual places and states that can and will at times war with each other. And in that time frame, it's when we war with you, when we defeat you, we kill all your men, we kill your teenagers, and we'll kill some of the male children, just depending on how old they are. Because if they're young enough to be brought up with us and have our values, then we may keep you alive, or we just may extinct, or we just may just extinct every last one of you. And then they'll take the women, all the ones who were the uppity, got something to say and don't want to follow orders, they kill them off. So you kill about 5 or 6 of them off, and the others fall in line. But with the slave trade, what it did is give these people a different option. So now, instead of just killing you all off, we can actually sell you off. So what we do is we enrich ourselves by trading with the coastal African tribes, and these coastal African tribes and nations will enrich themselves by doing business with the colonials. Because one of the aspects of slavery, just say in America, is if not for the Atlantic slave trade, a lot of black people who are alive today would not exist, because those factors of that time frame meant that if your people were sold off by African tribes, the coastal African tribes, if that didn't exist, they would just kill you all off, because they don't take prisoners there. They were it's That's just resources that are going to people that you're caging, that are useless to you. So we wouldn't a lot of us wouldn't exist in America. And when you think about it like that, it's kind of one of those. It's kind of like a catch 22. It's something that doesn't seem to make sense in your mind, that slavery saved lives by enslaving people. But when you look through history, it's actually true. Doesn't make it's kind of, again, doesn't sound to make sense, but it's still true. And that's why I don't like Roots, the first one. That's why I will not watch the new Roots miniseries. And if anybody's listening to me, I wish and hope that you don't watch it either. You know, I've talked about this with a lots of people that I know personally and people that surround me. And every time I bring up these simple aspects that are just things that happen through history, it's always, why are you trying to defend white people? Why are you trying to defend white people? And I'm looking at them and saying, I don't. What do you mean trying to defend white people? How am I defending white people? And it comes down to the fact of the people who profiteer from sowing the seeds of racial division have got certain things stuck in the people's head. It's kind of the old saying that a lie becomes a truth if you hear it enough times, and that's what happens. People give half truths and never the whole story, and that's what people like. That's what people want to hear. And nowadays, thanks to ridiculousness from social justice warriors, where the most oppressed people are now the most powerful people, people love this aspect. I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of social justice warriors right now foaming at the mouth and probably coming in their pants just because when this series starts, because now they can point to it and say, "Oh, look, evil white people," because the aspects and conditions of the time that I was talking about will not be examined. They're not going to examine African tribes selling off their countrymen. They're not going to examine the reasons that the mass public was given to justify the behavior. And with that, I'm just going to end it right here. And this was an orator with the freest of speech. Thanks for listening.